You know, in every apartment building, there's someone who's like the central nervous system. They know it's every secret, every groan, every single vulnerability. They're usually the first person you call in a crisis, but their full story, well, it's one of the most overlooked in our cities. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the world of the building superintendent.
So let's start with the official, the by-the-book definition. It sounds pretty straightforward, right? Almost mechanical. It's just a list of technical duties, all about machinery and maintenance. But as you're about to see, this definition, it barely even scratches the surface.
Now compare that dry definition to this, from a superintendent named Luis Tejada. He's not talking about boilers or air conditioners. He's talking about the people he serves. This right here, this is the deep, personal motivation that the official definition just completely misses. This is the why behind all the work.
To really get how important this role is, we need to zoom out for a second. A superintendent isn't just managing one building in a vacuum. Nope, they are a critical part of a massive, incredibly complex urban ecosystem.
And the scale of all this, it's just staggering. In a city like Toronto, for example, the building department oversees an estimated $13 billion in construction value every single year. And who's on the front lines maintaining these massive investments? Superintendents.
And it's not static, right? Things are always changing. Every year, you've got around 40,000 building permits being issued. That's 40,000 new construction projects, renovations, and alterations that all have to be integrated into the existing city. And, you guessed it, eventually maintained. And then, behind those permits, you have this just mind-boggling number of official checks, about 160,000 building inspections a year. But think about it. Long before and long after that official inspector shows up, who's the first person to spot a problem? The superintendent. They're the real eyes and ears making sure things are safe day to day.
And you better believe the city takes this stuff seriously. Officials actually track how quickly they respond to reports of construction done without a permit. It's a key metric for them. And superintendents, they're a huge informal part of this system because they're often the ones who notice something's off and make the call.
Okay, so let's zoom back in from that huge citywide scale to the individual. What does the day-to-day actually feel like? And what really drives someone to do this incredibly demanding job?
And here's Luis Tejada again. See, for him, the real reward isn't just fixing a pipe. It's the immediate, tangible impact he has on someone's life. Seeing that relief and happiness on a resident's face, that's a seriously powerful motivator. And to be able to solve those problems, a super has to know their building intimately. I mean, down to every last detail. We're not just talking about knowing where the boiler room is. It's about knowing the entire building, like it's an extension of yourself.
It's like they have this complete mental map of the building in their head at all times. If there's a flood, they know exactly which valve to turn, instantly. During a power outage, they know which circuit to check first. They can even guide a panicked resident over the phone to the right shutoff, because that map is just always there.
Okay, but for all the skill and all the dedication this job takes, there's a much darker side to it. There's this huge gap between what's expected of them as professionals and the often harsh reality for the people doing the work.
And this is where you see the huge disconnect. On one hand, you're expected to be this highly skilled, always available professional, a technical expert and a diplomat. But on the other hand, the reality for so many is pay that's often below minimum wage, grueling 12-day shifts, and the constant fear of losing not just your job, but your home, with as little as 7 days' notice.
I mean, listen to this from a super named Ivy. Imagine working 12 days straight without even being able to leave the property. No Christmas off, no overtime pay, and all the while knowing that your housing is completely tied to your employment. It's a level of pressure that most of us just can't imagine. And look, the job's demands go so far beyond leaky faucets. As this super, Levon, points out, they're often the first responders to absolutely terrifying and traumatic events. We're talking fires, break-ins, medical emergencies, even deaths. They're dealing with the rawest parts of human life, often with very little support. So why does this happen? Well, a big part of the problem is that the rules are just old. In many places, like Ontario, the laws haven't kept up. They treat live-in staff differently because their home and workplace are the same, and this legal gray area often leaves them exposed without the basic labor protections that most other workers just take for granted. So, with all that intense pressure, what does it actually take to do this job well? And, frankly, to just survive it? Well, it requires a really unique and diverse set of skills.
Okay, first you've got the hard skills, right? The stuff you might expect. You have to understand the building's guts, the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical. You also have to be a master of organization, time management, and problem solving. This is the foundation of the job, for sure.
But, ask any super who's been around the block, and they'll tell you the same thing. Fixing the boiler, that's the easy part. The real challenge, the part that requires a whole different kind of mastery, is managing the people inside the building. So, to handle all that drama, a lot of pros use a framework. They call it the 4 R's of conflict management. It's about being proactive. First, you recognize the early signs of a dispute. Then you respond in the right way for that situation. You work to resolve the real root of the problem, and then, this is key, you reflect on what happened so you can get better.
And what does that framework really boil down to? It's all about the soft skills. Can you listen? Truly listen to a frustrated tenant? Can you show empathy? Can you navigate a fight with diplomacy and patience? These skills aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolutely essential survival tools for a superintendent.
So, okay, when you put all of this together, the immense technical knowledge, the huge importance to the city, the hidden personal costs, and the advanced emotional intelligence you need, it's just crystal clear that we need to think about this role in a totally different way.
They're not just a handyman, plain and simple. They are a property manager. They are a conflict mediator, and so often they are an emergency first responder, all rolled into one. They're the unofficial and honestly underappreciated hub of the entire building community.
And that really leaves us with a final thought. The next time you pass your super in the hallway, maybe you see them fixing a lock or sweeping the lobby. But what else is going on? What conflict did they just de-escalate? What potential disaster did they just prevent? What are the unseen jobs they're really doing to keep all of our homes safe and running?